So Brady came out and made an interesting, kind of boneheaded comment, frankly, about how there is a
Ooh.
lot of mediocrity in today's NFL due to coaching, and it's kind of just a
Okay.
vague comment, in my opinion. Like it's a very vague comment. Like he doesn't. I don't know if he necessarily does. He go into it a bit more.
Yes.
He
Yep.
does.
So do you want? Here's
Sure.
the full
Yeah,
quote.
I'll let you take it if you know
Um,
more about it.
yeah. So he said, "There's a lot of mediocrity in today's NFL. I don't see the excellence that I saw in the past. The coaching was isn't as good as it was. I don't think the development of young players is as good as it was. The rules. This is the interesting part to me is the rules part. The coaching part. It's hard to like validate that. I'm not in the room. He is, or he was. Um, the
He
rules
still
part is
is.
interesting. The
He's coming back next
the
year.
He's coming back. The rules have allowed a lot of bad habits to get into the actual performance of the game. The product, in my opinion, is less than it's been. I look at a lot of players like Ray Lewis, Rodney Harrison, and Ronnie Lott, guys that have impacted the game in a certain way. Every hit they would have made would have been a penalty. You hear coaches complain about how their own players are being tackled. Why don't they talk about the player, about how to protect themselves? We used to work on the fundamentals of those things all the time. Now they're trying to be regulated all the time.
Yeah, and I do understand his point because he's not wrong. Like, of course, it's going to bring down. You don't need to learn how to protect yourself if you don't have to. It's that idea, right? But it's. Do you really want to say that to every single player who's now 60 dealing with concussion issues who can't eat food by himself? Like that's the
Yeah.
conversation. It's safety versus like I don't know. I don't agree with them. I think what I don't think that's the skill. I think the skill part of the conversation is irrelevant. Clearly, I've been hit too many times in the head. Like I think it's just like safety has to come first, especially with head injuries. Which is, I mean, when you're talking about like obviously Ray Lewis, Rodney Harrison, Ronnie Lott, you're talking about a group of guys who would have been known for knocking people the hell out. Right? That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
When you aim, like it's the same thing. Go back, even not even as far. Cam Chancellor, his hits,
Yeah.
a lot of them would have been penalties now if you look at it, right? It's the
Yeah.
same idea, right? Like as cool as they are, believe me, I grew up playing hockey. I grew up watching hockey. I love the big hits. I love the fights. But you got to be smart. Like you got to think about these people's futures, right? Like it's more about that. Like do you really want to be the league, keep on being the league that's known for CTE? Like we're known that's
Yeah.
literally just known for sending people into terrible retirements. Like it's just it's
Yeah.
crappy. Like it's and that's the thing, right? Like that's the part that I don't think that Brady necessarily acknowledged that I don't think he'd feel the same way if he had taken as many hits from Ray Lewis, Rodney Harrison, Ronnie Lott. When you're a quarterback, I don't think you have to take those kind of hits. Put Tom Brady in like a running back shoes, I don't think he's making the same argument.
Yeah. No, that's a decent point. I mean, Brady probably sees himself as this very good because his whole thing is like beating aging through sheer will. And so
Yeah.
he sees it more of a I can see why he'd see it more as something he can control. Um, I think it's interesting. And I think Brady, I think your point like is right. Like player safety obviously has to be first, ahead of everything. And
It's the
if it does
boring
dilute the
answer.
product,
Yeah, it's the boring
yes.
answer, but it's
Yeah, but it's important. And if it does dilute the product a little bit, I'm almost willing to take that just so that these players don't have long-lasting health implications like CTE. But where I do think Brady maybe has a point, and is just in how it's called.
yeah. No, of course.
Because
Yeah.
some of them, okay. Another thing that I want to say about Brady's comments, like, okay, buddy, you've been out of the league for what, a year, and now you're talking about, oh, back in my day. I get
Yeah.
you've been around
That
for
is
a
the
year,
funny
buddy,
thing,
but
right?
today's NFL. You played last season, buddy. But so it's still your NFL pretty much. But I do think he has a point in terms of how some of this stuff is called, particularly roughing the passer, because a great example is the hit on Brady in like the 2018 AFC Championship game where he got like tapped on the shoulder. That
Yeah.
stuff shouldn't be called. Um, I think the rules are fine as they are, but and just in some of the stuff in terms of how they're called, it's like the defensive player cannot do anything. It's good that the defensive player should be aware of this. They should know that there are certain tackles that they shouldn't be able to make. There's certain, like, you can't drive the quarterback to the ground, whatever. But there's some stuff that's just unavoidable, and I think that's diluting the product a little bit because,
And I think, and the fact that me and you are able to sit here and go like, okay, I can tell the difference between a quarterback getting tapped and maybe falling over and oopsie poopsie, like that shit getting called, and when Patrick Mahomes gets rushed and sent halfway to Mars right after the hit. There's a difference, right? When we're watching the play, I can sit here and go, yeah, that that guy should be getting a penalty, and that guy literally like it's there's
the
a
refs
difference,
need
right?
more accountability.
I was gonna say, I think that there should just be it shouldn't be black and white. I think right now it's actually too black and white, this call, in a weird way. I think that it should be more put on the refs' ability to look at a play and maybe its potential to hurt a player. And I think that should more determine it. Or potential to hurt a player. I also think you have to take, what's the word? I'm tired. Like, did they mean to do it? Right? Like, you have to look at it like that as well.
Intention.
And you can't, intention. There you go. Like, you have to look at it like that, right? Because I think that we should, like, having it be black and white where every time after the ball is thrown, you have to blow it down is dumb. Because, of course, like you said, these guys are 300 pounds of meat running at this quarterback. I can tell you that I probably can't stop that quick, and I ate 300 pounds. Like, you're going to run into them occasionally. That's going to happen. Just it's how it works. Yeah. I think it should just, like you said, more accountability from the referees. I think they should just be, like, you should be putting that position to the ref. Sure, there's still going to be bad calls. There's no preventing that. But I think that I think that you'd be making it easier to there'd be less bad calls, I think, if you put the right refs in that position.
I think the way you prevent that is just more video replay, because the refs are put in such a spot where they can't see the whole field from where they are. It's very easy to see how bad a missed call is from the comfort of your own home. There needs to be more instant replay, and I'm not even talking about
like you know what you could do? Like, it would be, and I know, like, this is gonna sound futuristic as hell. I wonder if you could, like, give the referees some sort of, like, it's not futuristic, actually. As, like, I'll explain why it's not futuristic in a second. Literally just, like, give them a running armband. You know, like, some runners, you know how they have, like, a thing to keep their phone on them in here, right? Put it down here. Put it down here. Put, like, it could be a phone, it could be just a screen of some sort. Put it in there and have it be a live feed to the broadcast. Like, literally, I'm not kidding. It would work. And I know it would work because on a lot of the games that I call now, where I do play-by-play for the State Trojans, and a lot of the games that I've called, I literally get sent a live link. Different to if you were just watching the normal broadcast. I get sent a live, like, link version of it so that I can see exactly what is happening at that exact moment, right? If I can get that, I'm not calling high-level games. If I can get that kind of technology, are you telling me that the NFL can't give their referees little iPhones in patches on their arms? Come on.
Yeah. Or even like that's one possible solution. But another thing, like you pointed out, the NFL is such a big corporation. Just hire more people. Hire more people to put in a virtual replay booth.
Yeah.
And just
hire more referees to have on the field. Like, is that a crazy thing to say? Like, can we not put more referees down there? Like,
or even just like, I do think it's a thing with the virtual, like with the replay. Like, I think that's important because I think it provides a lot more clarity. But you already kind of see it in the NFL in terms of there's certain calls that are made and then they'll have a quick little like the coach won't challenge it, but they'll have a quick thing like if it's marked short of a first down, they'll get a quick like buzz in their earpiece. Someone will tell them that call was wrong and they'll change it right away. We
Yeah.
need more of that for
That's
certain
not
calls because
that's not that crazy either. Like
there's
it's and
certain
you
calls
said
that are
accountability,
taboo to
that
review.
comes
You
down on
can't
that.
review.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain calls that you can't review, like the 2019 NFC Championship game, where it was an obvious pass interference on the Rams, and then they instituted the rule that you could review it next year, and then the NFL basically did that as just like to give something to Saints fans because they got rid of it the next year, and I don't think they should have. It is a judgment call and it is hard, but you need
Well, and
something
Caleb,
to catch those
like,
obvious calls.
and the crazy thing is what we see on the broadcast is the example I gave you of giving them an iPhone with a version of live broadcast is as simplified. That is a very simple version of that would cost basically nothing. Like
Yeah.
I'm like this is the NFL and we've seen the type of technology that they now have where we actually see them like zoom in on live replays and get like I'm sure you've seen it where they like all spin the camera around like they have a free cam of what's happening so that they can see if it's in. You know what I'm talking about? Imagine if we could give the referees that kind of technology literally on their wrist. Is that like I don't know if that's possible or not. I am not smart when it comes to this stuff, but all I'm saying is there has to be like what if the lowest that you can possibly do is give them a live broadcast. What is the best? Is kind of the question I'm asking because seriously, I don't think it's that absurd to say that they can definitely be doing better. And if the worst is a live feed, I'd be interested to see what the best they can do is.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because I do think it's because again to go back to the Brady stuff, like it as kind of crude and the headline grabby as his full quote is, I do think it gets at a real issue in terms of refereeing. Because you hate to see it as fans, and to see a penalty shift the game. I think the NFL should have looked into it more after a penalty decided what was an otherwise amazing Super Bowl. That Super Bowl for me, the Eagles-Chiefs, was ruined because it was called by a defensive holding call that was controversial, that I don't think should have been called. When you have games decided by that, from the smallest games, like the Seahawks-Rams game over the weekend, was decided by a completely phantom PI call. I don't know if it was on Witherspoon or Woolen, but the Seahawks lost partially because they were bad anyways, but they lost partially because of this completely phantom call that would have limited the Rams to a field goal instead of a touchdown at the end of the game. It's deciding games, and there needs to be something done about it. And to your point, they have so much resources. You've already come up with a solution that can be implemented and probably help a lot. And that's just from like shooting the shit for 15 minutes on a podcast. These guys can figure out something significantly better.
And that's the point and that even goes back to what I said earlier, where me and you, who are both idiots who sit on a couch every Sunday and watch football, are able to look at a screen and go, that should be a pass interference. That shouldn't be pass interference or passer interference. I think that somebody who gets paid to literally do this professionally should be able to do the exact same when looking at their wrist. That's kind of the point I'm making. I don't think that there should be a rush to like you can throw a flag on the field and like convene for a second. Let the drama build a little bit, you know? We don't have to immediately run to a guy on the mic and just go, pass or interference, and then they go to replay and it's like literally the guy just like blew air at him. And it's just like, well, could have waited a second to like, you know, maybe let it sink in. Pick up a flag. What's the worst that's gonna happen? Like, you know what I mean? Like there should be something there. It shouldn't be as black and white as it is, where they just have to. This is how things are. We all have to accept it, right? Like if they get a call wrong, which is kind of how it is now.